All right. Welcome to Playing It Safe. I know it's been a minute. I've been trying to do some soul searching of my own, and just a lot's been going on in the world and just life. And I've been reading or really listening to the audiobook of Will from Will Smith. So I am going to title this podcast, I Have the Will. And because besides Will Smith, you know, well, one, being a famous person, he does a lot of good quotes, as I would say. So I use a lot of his quotes in my classes. I teach critical thinking, and I've used his, quotes in counseling, and it's very inspirational. So actually, listening to his memoir is pretty impactful, and so that's why I felt that I would title this "I Have My Will." And so I highly encourage you all to read it. No, this is not no advertisement. It just really helps me out. And the best part about the audio is that it's his voice, right? I mean, obviously there's the book, and but it just I can hear him talking, and so it really helps out. So, he first begins by talking about a story between his father and his brother and him, and goes on to pretty much just say that the father put the boys with the task of building a wall. It took them a year and a half to build this wall. And, it was to build a wall laying brick by brick. And so after they were done with everything, he really took this wall and used it and applied it to his life. And it was, the secret to his success. It wasn't really that surprising, he mentions. It's that you show up and you lay another brick. Pissed off? Lay another brick. Bad opening weekend? You lay another brick. For him, album sales dropping. Get up and lay another brick. In his case, his first marriage failing. Get up, lay another brick. That was impactful because, a lot of times we look at this big goal, and every time I talk with students or anyone, right, like set your goals and what do you have planned. Many times it's hard for people to wrap it around, like, wrap their minds around their goal because their goal might take years to get there. So we're always looking at that, trying to finish that completed wall as the goal when we should just be going one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 week at a time. So laying that brick by brick. Another stating is that no matter what you're going through, there is always another brick sitting right there in front of you, waiting to be laid. The only question is, are you going to get up and lay it? So, are we going to continue to go on? Are we going to go through our life trying to lay those bricks by bricks? And as that goes through, we might have the mentality to, okay, let's set forth, let's take it a day at a time. Well, then another part, as I keep listening and going through a bunch of the audio, we as people always want words of encouragement. Heck, that's probably why you're listening to this right now. And so we are always looking for that inspiration. We're always trying to talk for that motivation. And a lot of times people can be our biggest criticizers, and it can really bring us down. So one of the quotes he has is that words can affect how people view themselves, how they treat each other, how they navigate the world. Words can build people up and they can tear them down. And, just the other day I was feeling pretty good in the morning, specifically because, I've been having a lot of like different mental health concerns. And I finally realized, like, man, I'm feeling so sad all the time. Like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, yes, I have a hormone imbalance. I probably should get that checked. And that way I can start feeling better again. So the other day I was feeling really good in the morning. And then I had a conversation with someone. I won't say a name, but in the morning I had a conversation which the individual said some hurtful words. And man, I can't believe I let that shit bring me down all day long. And I kept telling myself, Veronica, you're better than this. You're bigger than this. Why are you letting this person's words affect you? And so words can really tear people down. So we always have to be cautious of that, be aware of who we're talking to, and words can tear us down. And as stated, as another quote, we are waiting until we have deep knowledge, wisdom, and a sense of certainty before we venture forth. But we got it backwards. Venturing forth is how we gain knowledge. So now we're talking about like we got our goals. We're trying not to let people tear us down. But before we like pursue forward, we're always trying to have everything in order. Another thing I got my will mentioned. There's no reason to have a plan B because it distracts from plan A. And that simple sentence is just so impactful because I've always had that saying of, the saying of when one door closes, the other one will open. And I'm like, no, I want that door. I want to learn how to break through that door. How do I get through that door? I take it the same way. Why are we always planning for plan B? It will distract us from our plan A. We're so afraid of failing, or we're so prepared to not succeed, that we have all these other plans, plan B, plan C, plan D, just in case plan A doesn't work versus, just focusing on that first plan and moving forward. And people are always, trying to hit their plan, and they're always asking for advice along the way. One of the I have my will comments, he states, people's advice is based on their fears, their experiences, their prejudice, and the end of the day, their advice is just that. It's theirs, not yours. When people give you advice, they're basing it on what they would do, what they can perceive, and what they think you can do. But the bottom line is, while yes, it is true that we are all subject to a series of universal laws, patterns, tides, and currents, all of which are somewhat predictable, you are the first time you ever happen. You and now are a unique occurrence, of which you are the most reliable measure of all possibilities. And again, we're always seeking advice, but that is so true. Have you ever sought advice and were so disappointed after you finished that conversation? Like, damn, I was hoping you were gonna like uplift my spirits. If anything, you just made me feel worse, or you made me question myself. And now, it's my my goals, or what I've had planned. It's all just thrown out the window because I took that advice. And so again, I someone has told me, and I know that in the previous podcast, my husband had mentioned that he doesn't share his plans or his goals with people; he keeps it to himself. And surprisingly, I had a conversation with someone that I know, who's very successful, and she told me the same thing. Like, Veronica, your purpose is greater than what you're doing now, right? And don't tell people what you're doing. And don't tell anyone until it's already done. And it was such a concept to me because, a lot of times when you open up a conversation, you're like trying to say, well, this is what I plan to do. People feel obligated to put their input and give you advice. And that advice, like words, can tear you down and be hurtful. So that's just another thing I took from it. Here's another I have my will statements. Dreams are built on discipline. Discipline is built on habits. Habits are built on training. And training takes place in every single second in every situation of your life. How you wash the dishes, how you drive a car, how you present a report at school or at work. You either do your best all the time or you don't. If the behavior has not been trained and practiced, then the switch will not be there when you need it. Man, that was so impactful as well. We all have dreams, we all have goals, but so often we're not willing to, you know, take the time to build that talent, to practice it, to build that discipline to get there. The biggest thing I hear all the time is that I don't have time. And that's what I've been like allowing to happen to myself. I haven't done a recording in a while, even though I have all kinds of people lined up to, be interviewed. And I just got in my head, I don't have time. And it's like, man, I guess I'm not putting in that hustle that I've always put in every day. And it's having to remind myself, having to get that drive, having to practice it, train and practice, train and practice, train and practice, so I can get to my dreams that I have. I have big goals. I plan to get there. And, I know I've done a lot, but in no way, shape, or form am I done. Here's another I have my will. The separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams, and who want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. Again, it takes a lot of work to get there. It takes a lot of practice. No one ever said it was going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would have it, right? That's something we hear all the time. Another, I have my will. If you are unwilling or unable to pivot and adapt to the incessant, fluctuating tides of life, you will not enjoy being here. Sometimes people try to play the cards that they wish they had instead of playing the cards that they were handed and dealt with. The capacity to adjust and improvise is arguably the single most critical human ability. So we always think, if I had this, or I wish it was under these circumstances, instead of just taking the circumstances that we got and then learning to play the game. And I hate calling it a game. Like, life is like learning to play a game, but man, is it a game? It is. I've learned that I've had to learn to play the game, and the game that I've been dealt with. I had to learn the rules for my particular game, and how do I navigate that. And it wasn't until I acknowledged it in that aspect that I started to make some headway. And another, I have my will. He talks about hope. With all our dreams and aspirations and everything that we work for, um, it gets very daunting. And a lot of times, your goals and whatever you're progressing to takes a long time. That practice of hours and hours of training we talked about, sometimes you begin to lose hope. You begin to think, you know what? I don't think this is ever going to work out. I'm not sure. I hope it does, right? When I was going to school, um, in my undergraduate, I just, I was struggling. I was just so poor, working like three part-time jobs, just trying to like just hustle and bustle and sleeping in my car in between jobs because I'm tired. And I'm just, all I can just say to people, because I had a lot of criticism from others, why I was seeking their advice. And again, words hurt. And, no one really had any, really believed that I would get there. Like, it was like, oh, yeah, sure, 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 sure. Yeah, that's cute. You're talking about all these great things, but that's nice, Veronica. Like, sure, it's going to happen. And I just kept hoping it would happen. Like, it kept going this far. Like, I have to get there. I have to get there. I know I'm not working my ass off to not get there. Like, I just hope it happens. And I had to have hope. So, this is one of the quotes: hope sustains life. Hope is our survival during the darkest times. It's the ability to envision and imagine a brighter day, gives meaning to our suffering, and renders it bearable. When we lose hope, we lose our certain source of strength and resilience. Again, that's something that I feel that is very needed, and we all need hope. We all need hope right now. Um, the world's going crazy. A lot of stuff is happening. We are living in current history times, and a lot of people I've been seeing have been losing hope. So, even with, my goals of transformation and change that I've set for myself, and when I speak my goals out loud, which I probably should have kept to myself, as I've gotten advice before, you know, uh, the whole thing is like, oh, there's, there's no need to be doing that right now. You just sit still and just hang on, and because what if this happens? That's not a good option for you. You got a family to worry about. Don't make those moves. And I just have hope that I can continue to progress without worrying about what ifs. I just got to keep going and hoping for that change. And so, with all that said, I have my will statement says, stop letting people who do so little for you control so much of your mind, feelings, and emotions. Yeah. Stop letting people do that. Stop letting others control you. Again, words hurt. So if you allow those words to be said, they really can take over your mind, your feelings, and your emotions. And that's when you begin to lose hope. And I leave you with this last quote that I have my will states. I don't know what my calling is, but I want to be here for a bigger reason. I strive to be like the greatest people who have ever lived. And that's something I strive for. Again, I know I have a greater calling. As I mentioned earlier, someone told me my calling is bigger than what I'm doing now. I don't know what it is, but all I know is I keep striving to be some of the great people, someone that can make an impact in whatever I do, whoever I come across. And so that's why I felt like I had to do I have my will. And Will, if you're listening, you and your family are awesome, man. Hope to have you as an interview in this podcast one day. If you have any questions, thoughts, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And, if you have any questions, send me an email. It's at playingitsafe000@gmail.com. I will work my best to keep practicing over and over and over, to keep striving to bring more episodes and not let the advice or words of other people hurt me and control my feelings and emotions for that time. I love keeping it real with y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye now.